Hey, so hopefully we're popping up live any minute right here in the Yoga Teacher Collaborative. Do let us know if you're live, if you can see us. I know a lot of people are planning to join the replay today, so let me know that as well. Put that hashtag replay in the comments so Dina and I can come and interact with you, answer any questions later as well. We'll begin in maybe like 30 seconds or so. So use that time to come into your body, to settle, maybe a little neck roll or a shoulder roll, so that you are here in body, mind, and soul with Dina and myself today. So welcome to today's weekly live show. This is a collaborative session between myself, Laura Green, and Dina. Dina will introduce herself in a moment. If you're new around here, I am a yoga teacher, a teacher trainer, and a business mentor. I have been practicing Yin Yoga for about 11 years. The first year of that, not liking it. And then there was a shift in me, which we're going to talk about. And I have been training teachers to teach Yin Yoga for about 6 years now. And I know from feedback on that, I teach people to teach Yin in a very different way. So we wanted to give you a little snippet of that today. And also about collaboration. I'm so excited to be having this joint conversation with Dina, and collaboration has been filling my world at the moment with, collaborative retreats, day retreats, and I really want to constantly be modeling to you the wonders of collaborating. Dina and I are co-hosting a retreat at the end of this month, which we'll tell you a little bit more about. But yeah, go collaborate, find amazing people who light you up, who you share a passion with, and communicate with them. So Dina, my lovely, would you like to take a moment to introduce yourself to anyone who doesn't know you here?
Hi, yes, I'm Dina. Very happy to be here. Thank you, Laura. So I've been teaching for over 20 years. I started to teach Yin, or I trained in Yin teaching probably about 15 or 18 years ago. I can't really remember, because I found that I felt that I was very Yang, and I thought I needed some more Yin in my quality of life. But I've now kind of moved a bit away from Yin, more into restorative. And I also teach dynamic style of yoga because that is my Yang coming out. But I'm curious, Laura, as to why you think that Yin has become more Yang.
Yeah, so I think a lot of my first experiences of a student of Yin Yoga, now when I look back, they were so Yang. So I think I mentioned to Dina before we began that actually I've only ever been told off by a yoga teacher a handful of times in classes. And that's either been at hot yoga, which I don't go to anymore anyway, and Yin Yoga. And I remember a few times being told off in Yin for coming out of a pose too early. One of them I remember being in happy baby pose. We'd been there for quite a long time, and I was in physical discomfort, pain in my hips. So I came out of the pose, and I remember being asked, why have you come out of the pose? And I said, because it hurts. And I was told, get back in. and that sense of discipline and this idea of kind of sitting with discomfort and sitting with pain is something I hear so much about in Yin Yoga, sorry, but for me that's really Yang, and I'm not particularly that interested in rigid yoga styles. I always want to go straight back to the philosophy of them. And, I'm a Thai yoga massage practitioner. And in that, we're taught so much about the philosophy of Taoism, the philosophy of Yin. And I wasn't seeing any of that philosophy being taught in Yin Yoga. So that's why I think it's very often Yang, long hold times with predetermined number of minutes in the hold. You look at teachers' lesson plans, they're like, right, I'm going to be holding that for 6 minutes or 5 minutes, and I'm going to set a timer. And that rigidity is very Yang to me. Have you had the same in any way?
Well, no, because I think I was taught it in a different way. I was taught it more as a mindfulness practice of and you mentioned there being with discomfort, but then you mentioned being with pain. And I think one of the main aspect of it that I found very helpful was to become discerning about the difference between discomfort and pain. Discomfort is something that we have to negotiate in our lives. Our lives are not necessarily comfortable all the time, even though most of us are quite privileged and we do have very comfortable lives. But getting on the tube in rush hour in the morning is not comfortable. Things that happen in our lives aren't always comfortable, and learning how to manage that level of discomfort and how to be with it. We can't necessarily change it and escape from it. So for me, the yin practice was about learning how to be with certain levels of discomfort, being able to differentiate between discomfort, which is something that we all have to experience and that can come up a lot in a yoga practice, and pain, which is something that is unhelpful and that we do not want to encourage, but actually learning how to become more sensitive to the different types of sensations that we're experiencing. And therefore, in those long holds where you're told off for coming out, my teaching of yin is more about feel into it, it's about finding that edge, but that edge between, oh, I'm just hanging out here in comfort, or I'm just leaning into something that feels kind of new and slightly different and a little bit unusual. Is it pain? Am I damaging myself? Well, that's something we have to figure out for ourselves. But actually, am I opening somewhere? Am I allowing something to expand or open, or expose? Am I exposing something slightly new and different?
Sorry, I don't know if you can hear that. I have a little cat fight going on, right? They are very young.
They are, but I think it's in that area that yin yoga is very interesting. And so those timed holds, sometimes they are very long, and I think teachers have been taught in different ways, like you've got to hold it. My way of looking at it is, you're in it, you're going to be there for, you don't know how long, the teacher knows how long, but within that you can back off, or you can lean in a little bit more. You don't have to be, it's not about gritting and
yes, and discipline, not about waiting for the teacher to tell you to come out. I think that's why I like that first thing you said about really it being a practice of getting to know ourselves better and our relationship in the mind as much in the body. And when I'm always teaching people to teach yin, I break it down into 3 key principles. The first, and it's the principles that we are trying to teach our students to explore. We're not doing this for them, but the first one being appropriate depth. The second one being to settle into stillness. Like I've often, when reading yin books, hear that as resolve to remain still. And even like there in that language, resolve to remain, that is yang. And like settle into stillness. And I don't put set hold times on, holding 6 minutes. And I say, and linger a while. And I just find having those as my principles, finding an appropriate depth, settle into stillness, linger a while, and letting my students start to learn. That's their journey, learning. And the first one being that appropriate depth. As you said, where is the edge with this? And I might have no idea as a student what appropriate depth is for me if I've been doing vinyasa. I might go in way deep, especially those students that are more hypermobile. And then, okay, I need to learn how to back off, how to soften. And then maybe I can't linger a while. Maybe I can't settle into stillness because I didn't know that first principle of appropriate depth.
Yes, that is really key. But I mean, I think the thing is that if we're trying to relate our yoga practice to actually being out there in the world and living our life, then yin has something important to teach us, in that we're not always able to just come out of it. We are put into situations that may be difficult and challenging, and then we have to find a way to navigate those that isn't always just about, no, I don't want to do it, I'm here. And so we can learn about how we respond to those situations through being in a controlled environment. That's, we're only just sitting on a mat doing something. It's a bit uncomfortable. How do I respond to that? Do I become really angry and furious with the teacher and want to walk out of the room? What are our sort of coping mechanism. So like you said, we're starting to kind of learn about ourselves. And I think in the yin practice, what I find really interesting about the different styles of yoga is that who is attracted to those.
Yeah.
And I find that, you know, a lot of people attracted to yin are people that are quite pushy, and they're like, I'm going to stay that extra minute and I'm going to, you know, force myself in even more deeply. And the people that are less kind of driven are probably more attracted to a restorative style of practice. Oh, I'm just going to lounge around here for another 20 minutes because it's comfortable.
Yeah, I definitely saw that, because for a long time I alternated. 1 month was restorative, the next month was yin, and that went on for a long time. And it was very clear who chose to came on the months where it was restorative, who chose to came on the months when it was yin. What you're saying there about kind of our reactivity to situations, that, you know, we can't always just come out of something. And this is, I think, what brings me to one of my favorite teachings, when we sit Yin yoga in its roots, that it's come from Taoist yoga, that has come from Taoism, that has come from an ancient Chinese philosophy. You know, it's the book is right here, the Tao Te Ching, you know, being believed to be kind of 4th century BCE written. And we have a key principle in Taoism of Wu Wei. And, you know, it's these philosophies that I want to be seen more brought to the surface in yin, and that is exactly what Wuism is. Wu-wei is, sorry, is about Wuism. I think that could just sum up yoga, wouldn't it? Wu-wei is this not having to fix things, not having to react, and not taking unnecessary action. And I think this idea that I need to respond, I need to react, I need to come out, or I need to hold, I need to knuckle down through this, they're all reactions, where we have this key teaching of Wu Wei that is, how do we not take unnecessary action? So that comes to, have I gone so deep into this yoga pose that I am experiencing pain? Or have I not got myself enough support with props, that maybe I'm hypermobile and bringing myself into a place that could bring instability, you know, and I need to take appropriate action right now, come out, grab a prop, go in differently, play with my appropriate depth? Or is this the time of Wu Wei, to not take unnecessary action, to not have to fix everything? And I see, like, you know, when you see a lot of requests for, can anybody recommend a book, a book for yin yoga, I don't think I've ever seen anyone say, yeah, go get the Tao Te Ching. Go get the key philosophy book, which sits underneath what is yin. You know, forget what is yin yoga. What is yin? I wondered if I could read you one of my, I think I flipped the page. Obviously wanted another one to be read. I'm going to read you one of my favorite lines from here. Whilst I flip through here, did you want to share with me a little bit more of your wisdom around that? Where is something yin and where is something restorative? Where does that line sit?
For me, there's a lot of overlap. My teaching now, when I teach what would be classified as yin, I actually don't do very long holds anymore. I incorporate yin practice into my regular yoga classes, which tend to be dynamic flow vinyasa classes, and they will finish with some either yin or restorative poses. And the difference between them is, with yin, we are stretching. Yeah. We are looking for sensation. We are looking to just find a little more release somewhere, and not by pushing or forcing, by using gravity, so that there is not a tension and a holding, it's a releasing, a letting go, but we are looking for a sensation of stretching. Yeah. If I choose to go restorative direction, I may do a whole restorative session that is only restorative poses, because we can hold them for loads longer because they're comfortable. And I'm looking for absolute blissful comfort, supported, floaty feelings where you just let go and you have no idea how long you've been there. You're not sitting there thinking, when is this going to end? Yes. Because you're you're somewhere else.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's exactly the same for me. And I see then, you know, you and I have let go of a lot of rules that there are around teaching yin yoga. And I prefer to talk about just teaching yin as opposed to teaching yin yoga. But even then, you know, you're saying that you'll teach a dynamic class and then you might finish it with some yin poses. Whereas I know there's someone out there that's going to want to put a straight rule on you and go, well, that couldn't possibly be yin because you've warmed the body up and yin must be worked cold. There's just so many rules around it. And, you know, I'm deeply passionate about the philosophy, and the rules get in the way of the philosophy. You know, it's, oh, it must be cold. Okay, yes, that's a gross oversimplification of yang is hot, yin is cold, but that doesn't mean we can't have moved the body first. Do you feel the same?
I think that also came from the very early, when I started doing yin, nobody had heard of yin. No one was, there was like 2 yin teachers in London, and it just wasn't a thing. Now it's super popular, but at the time I learned from Sarah Powers, who was one of the first who could bring open run trainings, her and Paul Grilly, and they are both super, super flexible beings. And so they realized that for them, trying to practice yin when they were warm, they weren't feeling anything because they were so flexible and warmed up already that they weren't getting anything. They needed to practice when they were cold because that was the only way that they could get into the yin experience. However, most of us, you know, relatively normal humans who are not so super flexible, can feel a stretch when we're warm.
Yeah.
For me, that's it. Are you feeling something? Great. Are you not feeling something? Okay, well, that one's not working for you then. That's not one you need. Simple as that. But I don't think you have to be cold to practice yin. For me, yin is really a lot, you know, it's about stretching, but it's also about the mindfulness practice. So even if you're not feeling much, can you just be there and stay and see what happens? How, you know, see what kind of thoughts are coming up, see how this constant, you know, need to change things and make them better or more perfect comes up for you, and can you just be with that?
And that has got to be for me the real life learning of yin, because, you know, if someone is single goal is to become more flexible, I wouldn't send them to yin yoga. You know, I'd look at active stretching. There's a million other things I'd look at that yin yoga could be a part of, but its real like key gift to us is that learning how to be mindfully present in spaciousness. And we've lost the art of the linger. That's right. I mean, I love that word linger in it, but we have lost that. We no longer linger anymore. If we've got a moment unfilled, pick up a phone, turn on the TV, pick up a book. We have lost just, I'm here.
Yeah, daydreaming.
Yeah.
Daydreaming has become a lost art.
Yeah. And then that's the beauty of the visual imagery that can come in as well, like a guided collective daydreaming almost in some space as well. Just having a look at my notes, if there's anything else we want to cover off.
There's one more thing that I could just add to that. It's this idea of wanting to be more flexible that it infuses a lot of yoga practice. And for me, it's like, yeah, it's great to be flexible because it's really great to be comfortable in your body and to be able to get on with the things you need to do in life easily, and to be able to sit on the floor. That's a nice thing. But actually, how flexible do we need to be? You know, unless you want to go and work, you know, as a contortionist in the circus or something like that. And some of the things that people can do with their bodies, they do look very beautiful, but they don't actually make the rest of their lives any easier. Being able to do the splits or any of these other things, you know, it's good to be flexible enough. It's good to be strong enough. We are just trying to be healthy and happy in our bodies. That's all.
Yeah, absolutely. There's been no useful part in my life when I'm able to like put a leg over my shoulders, got me out of a tricky situation. If anything, you know, it's the more stability. So rules wise, we looked at you don't have to be cold to practice yin. You can add yin yoga poses at the end of a class to balance out that yang. You know, you can do a whole yin based practice, of course, and they're beautiful. Other rules we see in there, you know, set hold times. I would let that go predetermined and encourage your students to learn how to linger. And maybe they get longer and longer over time, and just being kind of more intuitive in what's happening in the room in our length of hold times. And one of the other things that always makes me smile about Yin Yoga, and I sometimes go with it and I sometimes don't, is the change of pose names. Like I say, pigeon pose is swan. And for some, I do quite like that, because, you know, having done a lot more vinyasa in my earlier days than yin, it reminded me that, oh, you might think you know pigeon, but you don't know swan. You know a pigeon in a vinyasa class where you might be there for 3 to 5 breaths. You don't know how to be in this related shape for maybe 3, 4, a while. So I do like the change of names, but I flip in and out between the ones I use, which are the names I'm more familiar with, or the changed yin names. What do you do when it comes to the names?
I make names up as I go along. You know, there have been so many names, and also if you look at old texts, if you look at some of the older Sanskrit names for poses, they're not the same. I mean, I can't actually.
Downward facing dog, it being mountain in Kundalini. Okay,
so you know there's loads of differences in how you call things, and I used to use Sanskrit names a lot, and then I realized that my students just didn't know what the hell I was talking about. So now I use names. Sometimes I make names up when I come up with a pose that I think I may have even made up the pose. I'm not even really sure, you know. It's like, how did we get here? What's it called? Let's think of a name for it. I think it's nice to have names for things that you can refer to so people kind of understand what you're talking about. And it's also nice to make a difference. So, okay, that's pigeon when we do it in a strong dynamic practice. And this is swan. Actually, swan has got they're very different animals. So actually, there is a very different feeling about it. And I think that's what's important. And I think what is the traditional name is. You know, I mean, yoga has moved away so much from tradition anyway. So
I have so many poses that are named by the teachers that taught me them. Like in my lesson plan for this week, so a bit of a side note, I have Beth's cape and I have Lauren's Sphinx, and it just brings me such a warmth when I teach those poses that I remember by that person's name. I feel like they're with me. You know, we carry everything we've ever learned from any other teacher. I love that Dina, that we are so on a similar page when it comes to the power of kind of nidra, yin yoga, restorative yoga, which is why Dina and I are co-hosting a retreat. It is about 3 weeks time, something like that, 3 weeks.
Pretty much, exactly, yeah.
It'll be 3 weeks today, and it is called Transformative Rest, simply because this is this overarching umbrella of what we are trying to teach the power of. We're trying to teach teachers how to create space for powerful rest, be that with the tools of yin yoga, the tools of Thai massage, the tools of restorative yoga, the tools of yoga nidra, and really getting teachers to feel so comfortable in this vast toolkit that you can feel free of rigid styles and labels and use what is appropriate in any moment, in any situation, to encourage your students into the power of transformative rest. So if you would like to train with us in person, we are so excited. It is the most beautiful location. We're staying at Oxenhode in Kent. We have a couple of rooms left. You'll spend the whole weekend with us. It starts at kind of early afternoon on Friday, early to late afternoon, finishes after lunch on Sunday. So you have a full weekend to get a retreat for you. And to get training from us. So I have put a link to that up in the comments. We would love to have you. Dina will say a bit more about that in a moment. And if you can't make us on that, I have been teaching teachers to teach yin yoga in one day for 6 years. And I can tell you there are so many amazing Yin Yoga teachers who have done this course, because I teach you the principles behind Yin Yoga. You know, I teach you the principles of Taoism, so you can go and infuse this into your classes. That is on the 20th of November in Southampton. Again, you'll feel like you've had a fabulous retreat day and a 7-hour CPD, which will enable you to go and teach Yin Yoga. If you're a qualified yoga teacher, you can teach Yin Yoga after this day. Dina, anything you wanted to add about our retreat together in Kent in 3 weeks today?
Only really that, you know, it's a training that feels like a holiday, that you will learn so much. And, you know, we're offering simultaneously these different workshops together, so you can pick and choose that, you know, of all the things that are out there. And I'm also going to be running a kind of sequencing workshop on the last day, so we can fit it all together. But yeah, I've been going to Oxenhoe for about, I don't know, maybe 15 years or something. I can't remember any of these lengths of time, for many years. And I can say that it is a wonderful place, and everything that happens in that space is so nourishing for all. So I think it's a perfect venue for us to be doing this transformative rest event.
Yeah.
Because that's really what you're going to feel when you get there.
Yeah. Held and rested and well fed, and so you get to choose between the training workshops. So it's Yin Yoga with me and Taoism, very much in philosophy, and Thai massage with me, and it will be restorative yoga, yoga nidra, and sequencing with Dina. And then for your own practice and your own enjoyment, there is kirtan, there's chanting, there's somatics class with me. So you will feel topped up from a year. So come join us if you can. 3 weeks today for the weekend. Any questions, let us know, or come join me in Southampton on the 20th of November for a one-day yin. But thank you very, very much for joining us. If you're doing the replay, thank you. Just going to jump into the Facebook page and see if there are any questions popping up. Good. Lynn, thank you for joining us. Okay, thank you. All right, my loves. We will see you next week. I think I'm talking about collaboration next week, how to make collaborations work. So enjoy the rest of your day. I'll see you soon. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Laura.
Pleasure.